Hey everybody, so about a fifth wheel. Got some questions for you. Hopefully you guys can help me out. I'm new to fifth wheels, and here's the deal. I got this Anderson hitch. Right here is my B&W turnover for a gooseneck. So the ball sits right here. This clamps down on it, and it creates tension basically with this pin, and then those two screw in like that. It's got about a foot offset, and that is actually where the fifth wheel sits. This is the adapter right here. What it does is it bolts to the original kingpin, and this sits on the ball, and then it has this engages and disengages. I don't know if you can see that, where it sits on the ball. Now, so as you see, I don't have a regular fifth wheel hitch that the kingpin slides into and locks into place. The guy I bought my fifth wheel from, he was getting out of it. He was an older dude. He said, I just don't want to really go camping or hunting or anything like that anymore. So he threw in the hitch for me. I mean, I didn't have a fifth wheel hitch because my plan was to have one of my buddies who has a fifth wheel come and get it, bring it to the house while I find a hitch. Now, with this hitch, I find I have a lot of jarring back and forth when I start to accelerate, and then when I definitely a bunch when I go to slow down or stop. I mean, I have a bunch of jarring, and I'm used to that because I have a gooseneck that I tow my 76 Nova on. So I'm used to that. I'm used to towing goosenecks, but not fifth wheels. So I was talking to some of my buddies who have fifth wheels, and they run B&W companion hitches, which, from what I understand, it's basically the same concept, but it's got the fifth wheel itself that way, where the kingpin slides in and a couple jaws clamp. And they told me, no, with a fifth wheel you shouldn't feel any jarring back and forth like that. They said that's like that would be like something's not right, because this should be, the ball in here should be so tight that you don't feel anything. And they said on the companions, the claws, I know that's not right, but bear with me, clamps down so tight on the kingpin that it doesn't allow for movement. And they said what it sounds like to me is something in here is causing movement. So I wanted to hopefully get someone who has had the Anderson and went to a companion, or vice versa, and tell me what their experience is, and what they recommend. Now, another thing I do not like about this hitch is these two bolts and this bolt will loosen on you. I've tried it both ways. I've tried torquing this down, then loading the fifth wheel, and it loosens. And then I've tried leaving this loose, loading the fifth wheel, then torquing them down, still loosens. So whenever I pull over to get gas or whatever, I carry a torque wrench in my toolbox, and I always have to re-torque these bolts because they loosen up. And that, they said, is most likely where that jarring is coming into play, because you shouldn't get any jarring on this ball right here. So, like I said, if you guys can help me out on that, leave it in the comments. It would be very appreciative. I'm new at this game. I'm new at the fifth wheel game. So, yeah, I'm going to do a review sometime, hopefully, on how the truck did. You guys know I have this 2008 LMM fully deleted, no EGR, no DPF, with EFI Live. So I want to do a review. Long story short, the first time I took it out, it did excellent for me. It did real well, but I did break down. No fault of the truck. What happened was I was driving, all my gauges turned off. They just quit working, so I pulled over to the side of the road and I turned my truck off to reset the gauges. Well, the truck didn't start. So I hopped out, checked all the fuses were good. At that point I called AAA, thank God for AAA. They came and got me because I was on the side of the highway with semis whizzing past me at 75 miles an hour. So I said, you know what, let's just get it towed. Came home, long story short, there's a 40 amp fuse, and it was the main ignition fuse. Now these bigger fuses, they have two prongs sticking up like this that the fuse actually slides down onto. Well, we couldn't figure out what was going on, so my father-in-law, he's a big Chevy guy, he knows these trucks inside and out, and he said we need to start, it's an electrical problem, we need to start pulling fuses one by one and to see what's going on. So we're pulling fuses one by one, and we pulled this main ignition fuse, the 40 amp one, and the copper piece inside of the fuse that slides down onto the prongs, one of those copper pieces stayed on the prong. So it was a faulty fuse internal, and it still read good. Replaced the fuse, bam, fired right up. So that was the first time. Second time, it's done great. I mean, this truck, I can maintain 70 miles an hour pretty well without a problem. Another thing I would like for you, sorry I'm rambling, this is another video, so just long story short, this truck is doing awesome. 175,000 miles on it. It's doing great towing this. That's another video. What I would also like to know is, I have never seen a fifth wheel with chains. What my buddies told me is it might have something to do with me converting to the gooseneck. And I know laws are different, DOT laws are real different in different states, obviously. But I was wondering if you guys may understand that and tell me what the reason for these chains are, or if the guy was maybe just being real overprotective. I don't know. Again, never seen a fifth wheel with chains. So if you guys can help me out on that front as well. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you guys think about your BMW companions, and thanks guys, I appreciate it.